Happy to answer questions and talk about not only this year, but certainly the last few years for the Galaxy. And as we head into what is a crucial offseason, we're spending quite a bit of time evaluating everything. And that starts with me. And certainly I hold my hand up and take responsibility not only for the results that are not up to our standard for this year, but for the last couple years. And we are spending a great deal of time. I am spending a great deal of time evaluating myself, evaluating our decisions. And I know that when we look at this, the responsibility does not fall on a coach. We all have responsibility in this. And in saying that, I am confident and hopeful for our future. I've been with this club for 13 years, and I know what it stands for. And I have seen really great times here, and also challenging times. And as we build into this, as we build into what is another offseason, we have to continue to progress the things that we view as very positive and have to get right the ones that are not. And so, we look at all of that and we take it into account, and then we plan for what is to be ahead and for our future. So, with that, I'll pause and happy to take questions and discuss anything that you would like to discuss.
Chris, we'll go with the first question with Kevin Baxter. Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, nice mask.
Hey, Kevin, thank you. Nice to hear your voice.
Thanks for doing this. You guys have tried a number of things over the last 4 years to sort of turn things around. You've gone through, as we know, 4 coaches, 3 general managers, 66 players, and you haven't got the results you wanted. You talked about looking at everything. What does that mean? I mean, if the players are done, the coach, the general manager, what other options are there?
Well, Kevin, it's a good question. And, coming off of what was a dynasty or at least a successful regime with Bruce, and then changing into something else, and understand the question. And, I'm looking at myself first and foremost, and how can I be better and how can we be better? If you look at some of the clubs, and MLS is much different than it was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And you have to get the pieces right and have the right people working. And there are some good things that we have. I mean, Dennis has come in and laid a foundation that I believe that we can build upon, and that we've started. We saw some success last year, and this year it wasn't good enough. And I know that it goes back to 2017 and 2018, but we are here now, and we have some very good pieces. I also understand that a lot of those things that you don't see every day. And when you're laying the foundation, and the first team results are what we're all ultimately judged by. And when you have a season like this and it's not good enough, then you have to move forward, and you have to take the pieces that were good, that can build, and then you have to change the ones that unfortunately are not. And so I know Dennis is hard at work, and we are hard at work every single day to get this club back to where it deserves to be.
Are you happy with Dennis and the job that he's done when you're looking at changes? Is it fair to say Dennis is safe, or is everything on the table at this point?
I mean, look, I think Dennis has done a very good job laying the foundation for what we have. Like I said in the beginning, though, we all have to take responsibility for what isn't good enough. And you've heard Dennis hold his hand up and say he has responsibility. I certainly have responsibility too. And so, this is sports. And we're all judged by the results that you see on the field and on the court. And so I don't know if safety is a word that any of us hold dear, but we work every single day. And he works extremely hard with his team, looking for a new coach and trying to keep the pieces of the roster that we have that we can build around, and change the ones that he thinks that we need to improve upon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
We'll go with the next question to Damian Calhoun. Damian, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, How you doing?
I'm good, Damien. How are you?
I'm good. You were talking there how the league has changed, and we've all seen how teams like Philadelphia has used their academy to get where they are, and also you guys as well. But have we seen enough of the academy, of guys going through the academy to the second team, to the first team? Or should there be more guys ready to take that next step?
It's a good question. I mean, I know that everyone right now is looking at Philadelphia, and they are the team, and deservedly so. And they charted a course and they stuck with it through valleys and now ultimately the mountaintop. And we have to create our own vision, because LA is certainly different than the Philadelphia Union. And so back to your question, we're just at the front end of seeing some of our academy players come through and earn first team minutes, whether it be Julian or Ephra. And we saw some great success with our second team this year, and the academy is well structured and I think poised to really contribute to our club. It's not going to be the only tool that we have in our toolbox, but it's something that we definitely need to take bigger advantage of, and it's one of the pieces that is really positive, and we look forward to continuing to invest in it and to realize what should be a great potential in it.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Paul Tenorio next. Paul, go ahead.
Chris, can you walk us through the process that you're going to undergo in hiring a new head coach? Is Dennis leading the coaching search, and then once he finds the final candidate, goes through a vetting process with you and ownership? Is it a group process? Who's kind of in charge with this hire? Good
question. And hey, Paul. Our process with the coach is very similar to our process when it comes to a designated player. For instance, Dennis is leading that, and Dennis has created a profile and a list of candidates that we're at the very beginning stages of starting to look through. And once he goes through that process, he will, will obviously have a discussion with me, and we bring it to ownership, which is Dan and Phil, for approval. And this process will be no different. He has started that, and look forward to sitting down with him and discussing and seeing where he's at, and then we'll take the process from there.
Just a quick follow-up on that. 2020 has been such a weird year. We don't really know what 2021 is going to look like. How does that impact the timeline for bringing in a coach? Is it something you want to do before the end of the calendar year, assuming that the schedule will be somewhat similar, or does it get extended? Yeah,
I think the reality is we don't know. And we haven't known what's around the bend with this, with the pandemic, and there isn't a specific timeline. We haven't set something that says by the new year we need to have a coach because we have to build. We need the right coach, and that's been the only focus that we've had. And so taking the requisite time to look at all the options. And you mentioned the pandemic. It's also very difficult to meet with somebody in person. I mean, I'm sitting across from you guys with a mask on, and so that has an impact as well. With scouting and certainly with trying to meet and trying to interview coaching candidates. So it's not normal, but we feel confident in the process that they've begun to work through. And again, the importance is finding the right coach and not necessarily a timeline.
We'll go with Scott French next. Scott, go ahead.
Good morning, Chris.
Hi, Scott.
I can't speak to how things are seen within the club, but outside of the club, the idea is that this has been a club that has not seemed to have a culture since Bruce left. And part of that may be that Bruce is such a strong personality, biggest personality in any room, that he kind of set the culture when he was here. And when he left, it left a void. That doesn't seem to have been filled. It's difficult to say what is the Galaxy's culture at the moment. How do you repair that? How do you project the culture that you want to have? What are the steps you have to take, and how do you see that?
Yeah, really kind of interesting and fascinating question, and I agree with some of that. And you said it, when you have a coach that has been here for so long, and when that coach is Bruce Arena, he establishes that culture. And the culture of the LA Galaxy, even when I looked at it from the outside, was always something that I looked up to. And having seen it firsthand on the inside, I believe it's something that needs to return to this club. In the identity of players that are currently playing for our team, the identity of past players that have come through here and past coaches that have had success, and we need to reestablish and get some of that back. And so to answer your question, I think and again, Dennis is going through this process now. It has to do with myself. It has to do with Dennis. It has to do with the coach that we hire. It has to do with the type of players that we bring in that can give our fans and give people like yourself the view from the outside that that looks like an LA Galaxy team. And that is the objective, and we spent a good deal of time speaking about that and charting a course in terms of how to retrieve that.
Well, thank you, Chris.
We'll go with Larry Morgan next. Larry, go ahead.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for talking with us today.
Hi, Larry.
Actually, kind of a two-part question, but how often have you asked yourself where and why has this gone wrong over these last few years with all the teams' struggles? How has that really eaten at you, so to speak?
Daily. I wake up every day trying to make our club better. And even moments that we've had success, I spend time thinking, how can we improve? And moments when we're in the valley, that doesn't change. It doesn't change how I work and how I think and how I approach, the responsibility that I've been given at this club. So, yes, it's daily. And it's not just because of where we are. It's just how I am, and I think the effort and the responsibility that is demanded of me. So this club has given so much to the community of LA and our supporters, and they've given back. And so we have the responsibility now to put a team and a product on the field that represents that. And so it is a daily process and something that we work very hard at.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Go with Edward Gavich next. Edward, go ahead.
Chris, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. When you guys get a high-profile VP, you guys obviously take into account what the player can do on the field and also on the marketing side. What do you tell those fans, those frustrated fans that think that you guys are spending too much money looking for those high-profile designated players, and instead of focusing on having solid players in all positions and a balanced team?
Yeah, we need a balanced team. What I will tell you, and there's no way to show this, that the marketing aspect of a player is way last in terms of what we look at. And, we had, a global icon here in Zlatan, and that really had nothing to do with the discussion around it. And similarly with Javier, with Chicharito, and they looked at a number of forwards, and Dennis can walk through the process. And if it was a name that I had never heard of, or that our marketing team had never heard of, that would have been the player that we would have gone after. Through the process, it ended up Javier for a number of reasons, and again, marketing is last. But to the last part of your question, we certainly need a balanced team, and it's one of the way that our league has changed, in that you can't have one player, two players, three players. That certainly will make the team. You need a balanced roster. You need players that contribute day in and day out. And if you look at even the past 3, 4, 5 years, and clubs that have done very, very well, they've gotten that contribution. And so in terms of our process, there's no mandate for notoriety or things like that. I think those days are gone. Now, being the LA Galaxy, it certainly attracts a different profile of player, where those players do come to the table, and all that is put and evaluated, and eventually our soccer group comes back with a recommendation that we go and get approval for.
Thank you, Chris.
We have time for two more. We'll go with Katia Castorena. Katia, go ahead.
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, Chris. Two questions. The first one, you mentioned trying to find the right coach. What does that look like in terms of the qualities that you want to see in a coach that reflect that vision and that culture that you guys want for the club? And the second question would be like, when you were a player, you experienced firsthand as well, like a challenging time when you had big names as DPs and then you didn't make it to the playoffs. So from that experience that you lived as a player, what did you learn that you can take on now in your position as president to kind of like make it better?
To the first question, I'll let Dennis speak to the profile of a coach, but what I will tell you is he spent an incredible amount of time, and we have researched what is successful in our league, what is successful with our club, and what type of profile do we need to lead us in 2021 and beyond. So I'll let him speak to that. On the other side, trying to take lessons that I've learned both as a player and in my role now, and certainly lessons that I've seen over 23 years being a part of this league. And there's some great lessons in it, and there's lessons certainly that we can take from the last couple years. And as it relates to your question with big name players and them coming in, it goes beyond just big name players. Our league is very unique, and sometimes it takes players time to adapt. Some adapt very quickly, and others it takes a little bit longer. And so there is a fine balance between having the patience to kind of wait through that and kind of walk people through what is sometimes a transition process. And so, I lend that experience, but certainly we have people here that are talking and speaking to our players every day, and you have to continue to work and surround them with the right pieces so that they can be successful.
We'll go with Daniel Schwartzman with TUDN. Daniel, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
About the investment and the performance of Chicharito, could you say something about the fans that they're not happy right now? I know it's been complicated, a lot of injuries, but anything to the fans about the Chicharito that they were expected something else?
Yeah, it's been a difficult year for Javier. I'll let kind of Dennis speak to the performance on the field, but what I will tell you, and I know you've seen it in the last couple weeks, and it didn't impact our season. I know that. I spent a while with Javier a couple weeks ago where he came and we sat down, and he very passionately laid out where he is. I'll leave that to him to speak more, but it was a position of responsibility and of commitment. Commitment to the club, commitment to me, commitment to our ownership, and most of all, commitment to his team and to the fans. We saw glimpses of that over the last two games, and again, it didn't have the impact on our season that we wanted, but it certainly gives hope for what he can provide for us going forward and for the future. With his history, he is a very good player, and he can score goals in our league, and he can be successful. And so we look forward to him returning and regaining that form.
Thank you.
We'll take one last one from Alicia Rodriguez. Alicia, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Chris. Thanks for taking the time today.
Hi.
You mentioned earlier the good season that LA Galaxy 2 had, and I'm wondering about the future of that team. There's been rumors that many of the teams that are controlled by MLS in the USL are going to be dropping down a division or leaving the USL setup entirely. So I'm wondering, is there any consideration about the future of LA Galaxy 2? Are they going to stay committed to the USL Championship? Are they going to go to a different division? What's the plan for the future?
Yeah, thank you. We were very proud of the progress that they made, not just because of the results, but because of how they did it. We are committed to USL and playing in the championship next year. We have found that competition is the right level for our kids that are coming up, and we're seeing the improvement. And again, it takes time for that to show up on the first team, but our commitment is there. I think more broadly, our commitment is to the development of our academy and certainly Galaxy 2 is a big piece of that and the last step before the first team. And so from ownership on down, we feel that we've created a good system that we're sticking by.